Hey, yeah.
Lenz, what's good? Thanks for having me on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Oh, sorry.
Bramwood podcast.
Give me a second, please.
Justin Blends. Remember to subscribe and leave us a 5-star rating. Oh, I've been waiting for this phone call all day. Here we go. Give me 1 second. All right, everybody. This is pretty cool. I've got a special guest today. AntiFrantik. One word. Powerful lyrics. Producer. Videographer. Talented. Skill. I mean, stick around. This one's going to be special. He's got a new album coming out. ACA, produced by Mimar Sinan. This is a New York-Toronto connection. This album is special. But let's take it back. Let's dive a little deeper here. I was first introduced to this guy, I would say 2010, first time I heard his music. It was off of the Love and Poison album. That one is special. This man here has got some real serious lyrics. I mean, he's clearly a writer, clearly somebody who takes in a lot of information, an avid reader. AntiFrantik.com. AntiFrantik, however you want to put it. It's one word, AntiFrantik. Again, AntiFrantik.com. Straight like that. Check him out. AntiFrantik. All right, let's get into it. So, if you built a community of people, what would be the aim? Who would benefit? And how would this community assist the humans?
What sort of community would I build, and what would be the aim? Who would it help? I think I want to start there. Who would it help?
Okay.
What sort of things would I want to address in this community? I think ultimately that would be things that, I'm really just things that I'm concerned about in the present day.
Such
right?
as?
Like things that I find myself from time to time maybe ruminating over a little bit too intensely at times. I think it comes down to two things. I think one, in a more general sense, I think that it really needs to be stressed that because we as men, as collectively, have worked to construct this patriarchy, which subsequently, ultimately, has really poisoned society, has really poisoned, as you say, communities as well, right? Like, I think that pretty much goes without saying, that as such that it'll take a concerted effort. We have to come together, because we are responsible in a large part for it. We have to kind of come together and then shoulder that responsibility, right, and really do what we can to eliminate the patriarchy, lessen the patriarchy, diminish the patriarchy. I think we have to really do that, and we're seeing how not only and absolutely how the patriarchy has victimized women throughout the course of history, but we also have to start to recognize very, very specifically and precisely, not specifically, precisely how it's also poisoned us as men as well, how it's poisoned our mental health, how it's poisoned the way we identify ourselves, right?
In what sense?
The identities that we have since derived from this patriarchy,
okay,
right? And how it's poisoned us. And I think it's really, really important that we shoulder the responsibility to dismantle this apparatus that has continued to poison us.
I got you.
Collectively as a species, almost, right? So that's one thing that I would really want to aim to do. And the second thing, it's really sort of cropped up a lot due to this pandemic and how this virus has amplified this to me. And that is the idea of critical thinking and the absolute necessity of critical thinking in a population. And if it's not there, how susceptible that leaves us to ruin, how brittle it leaves our foundation.
Gotcha.
Right? And we're seeing that right now, where it should be it shouldn't be this difficult to communicate to a community, to communicate to a population how, like, the reality of such a situation, the real, very scientific facts of what's going on, and how that can be so distorted.
Yeah.
So simply, right? Like, and we've been seeing this for years, right? And it's culminating in, fake news and propaganda, which, again, I mean, history goes in waves and circles.
Cycles,
and
for sure.
We've seen how effective propaganda can be throughout the course of history, right?
Right.
And how the shield, the armor that would protect us against these sorts of things would be critical thinking, or developing critical thinking to a significant level, right? And to a high degree. And if I were to build a community, it would, the first things, the primary things I would do would be to address those two concerns that I have.
Got you.
The responsibility that we have to dismantle patriarchy, and to uphold the value of critical thinking.
Right.
To develop, to exercise, and to train critical thinking in a population. And those two things they're not mutually exclusive, right? Like, one helps the other. Is kind of where I think, where I'm kind of going with that a little bit too, now that I think about it. And I don't know, I think for me, this is a big question, and I don't want to think too big about it. I think I want to keep it, if I were to keep it small, I think I would start with a book club, I think, would be what I would do, just for starters, right?
That.
And I think,
like, what kind of book club?
Things that I would want to
What would you want
see in this book club would be to bring, it would start small, right? It would start really small, but to bring people together in order to help develop each other's critical thinking, to build each other up in that way, right? And the book club would be strictly novels, right? Strictly novels, no nonfiction. And that's just because I feel like,
I mean, I like the idea, but just,
well, if I can digress a little bit, I was
go for
talking with my twin brother Mick the other day, and he was telling me about how he was going to be tutoring a student who had to do an essay for his high school English class. And that got me thinking about how, when I was in high school, English class was my worst course. I hated it. It was the class I hated the most. And the reason why is because I didn't recognize its intention the way that I do now, and the way that I have come to see it now. And that is, the intention of the class is to develop critical thinking. And you do that by exposing yourself, experiencing artists, authors who talk about the world, who describe the world in a critical way, right? And describe themselves in a critical way. And through that process, one is able to, develop their own critical thinking skills. And yeah, that would be the goal. That would be the goal for me. Like, in this book club, that would be the goal. I mean, I love reading. I love reading novels specifically for that process. Experiencing another person's observations about existence and reality, and everything from that macro level to the micro, right? And is something that really helps me develop develop that part, that part of myself.
Self-reflection, right? I feel that.
Because I need to develop. It's something that I definitely am really cognizant of the fact how much I need to work on that as well. So, yeah. So that was maybe a really long answer, but
It's all good, man. Bring it on.
yeah, that would be the community that I would want to develop. A community that is about developing critical thinking skills, is about doing work to dismantle patriarchy as well, shouldering that responsibility as men to do that, and going from there. And I think it would be really important to the goal for the individuals and the people themselves would be to, find a sense of fulfillment. It would be to, I think it's important in order for communities to develop, there needs to be a sense that, vulnerability is encouraged and allowed, is safe to do that, all that sort of stuff, right? Like, I think that's also really important. That's also a very important part or ingredient that goes into building communities. But it's tough. I mean, I all that being said, I have historically been terrible at building communities. So this is all very theoretical in a way. I don't know. I don't know. It's a great question to ask, and I appreciate you asking that.
No worries, man. I mean, I really like the fact that you said vulnerable. The idea that we have to open up and be susceptible, right? Sharing ourselves, giving of ourselves so that we can reflect and actually improve or advance. I do like the book club idea. That's a smashing idea, man. I'd be down for it. You're a curator, you're a reader. I can tell that. So I really do dig that. I like the ideas. Again, you did mention, again, touching on those quick ideas, you said two critical things, critical thinking. And you also mentioned the idea of kind of tearing down this patriarchy, the boys club, right? Voices need to be heard, people need to step up. Mothers, wives, daughters, sisters, girlfriends. I mean, they've got stuff to share and they need to be heard a little more, you know what I mean? Without having to force it, they need to be heard. You're only as strong as your weakest link. We are only as strong as our weakest link. Okay, so critical thinking and dismantling the boys club. Okay, so what is it that we as people could improve on when it comes to mental health, socially, educationally, politically, etc.?
What can people improve upon? I think if I were to first start at the individual, and I guess also the social level, I think an important part of mental health is acceptance. And self-acceptance as well. Accepting that
self for sure.
Self-acceptance. Accepting that these issues are real. Accepting that these issues are not like a negative. It's just a different aspect of yourself. That, like anything else, needs to be tended to, needs to be...
Yes, it needs to be nurtured.
Needs to be worked
cultivated,
on.
developed,
and as
worked
such,
on, for sure.
Needs to be honored so that... And respected, right?
Respect,
in terms of how they are an aspect of who you are at that moment, right? And otherwise, you may just shun it, you may just ignore it, you may just kind of just let it fester, right? And in that instance, make the problem a lot worse than it has to be. So I think, and as well, on a social level, it also has to be accepted so that when folks are dealing with something, they don't have to deal with it alone. If they feel like the acceptance isn't there, they're not going to be able to share that need with other people. So I think that's a kind of first, a cornerstone, I guess, would be how I'd say a cornerstone would be acceptance, right? Being able to accept that the mental health issue is there, right? So that'd be one.
Okay.
And I guess when it comes to politically and things like that, I don't know. I think if that sort of level, that individual and social level of acceptance, I think that can be encouraged by actions at the educational and political level, right? I think if you want to take it to that sort of macro sense,
Yes, indeed.
if people are better able to understand what mental health is, and that's a very sort of
Pretty great.
vague, sort of like
general.
large sort of sentiment. The mental health is a lot of things, obviously. But yeah, if they're better able to understand what that is, it becomes less of a monster, right? It becomes less of this like sort of like like boogeyman of sorts, right? That can't be, that's to be it becomes less of this boogeyman that has to be fought, right? And it becomes more of this, more understood and more of like, oh, this is just another aspect, right? That needs to be worked on, that needs to be tended to, right? Just like any other sort of aspect of humanity, right? So yeah,
indeed.
that would be, so like it's what we're looking for is on the individual and the social level that can be encouraged at and be brought about by actions at the educational and political level.
Got you. Yeah, I dig that, man. We all know that this thing's a real thing, mental health, physical health, emotional health, all of these things are relevant. And now, I mean, that's one thing about this generation now as we speak, this idea of mental health is such a common thing. And never growing up did I ever hear the words mental health. I don't even recall one single time. And that's kind of an exaggeration, but no, it's a real thing. And I think, like you said, it's really just the understanding, the cognizance of this idea of mental health, right? To even know that it exists and it's something that you need to consider as you make your daily movements, as to keep it in good standing, good health. I like it.
Hey, what's up, guys? Bramwood Beetle. I need all of you to run out there, check out the new album I've got coming up. It's called With Version. You can actually pre-order it right now at mrblends.bandcamp.com. That's MRBLENDS.BANDCAMP.com. I'll put a link in the description as well. I want to see those pre-orders. I definitely appreciate your time. Thank you very much for your support.
We're back. Let's get into it. If you're a cannabis consumer, or if you're not, do you mind speaking on Canadian legal cannabis? Just the benefits or influence it may have on you and or others.
Yeah, I smoke a lot. I smoke a fair amount of weed. What have I learned about it over time? I mean, I think one thing is that I misused it a lot before I kind of understood how to use it. I think is how I'd kind of put it first. And I think going back to something I said in a previous before, it's like you have to respect it, right? You have to kind of respect it as as a plant, as a herb, as a drug, right? Like I think you have to kind of really respect it for what it is, or otherwise, you can kind of run yourself off a cliff a little bit. And yeah, I think presently right now, I've come to really gravitate more towards like CBD as opposed to THC. I guess you can say, like, I used to, I'm kind of done with smoking like really, really strong weed. I really will kind of choose something that almost has more CBD than THC a lot of the times.
Yeah.
And that's just me as an individual, like what I'm capable of, or what I'm
What gets you going, what works for you.
To use or experience.
For sure.
And yeah, I think why, like, I use it a lot to get myself in sort of a flow state, I guess, where if an idea sort of floats by, I can kind of really grab hold of it and run with it and build something off of it, rather than, kind of letting it go by. And sort of just kind of live in the moment, enjoy the process a lot more.
Got you. Yeah.
Like, especially when I'm like building a beat or writing a song. Sometimes I'll be able to catch a scene and be able to write. Like, I'm trying to write a feature film right now. So sometimes a scene I'll be able to catch hold of a scene and write it down and kind of grow there.
Yes.
So overall, I end up when it comes to the artistic process, I feel that weed really helps me really get into that process earnestly and genuinely,
right.
For the love, to put it simply. But I mean, that wasn't always the case. I think I would abuse it a lot more growing up and, end up like catatonic or something like that, just as a way of escaping, know?
Yeah.
And I think, especially now in
a lot of people do
pandemic and shit like that, there are sort of a lot of negative things worth a little bit of escape, to be perfectly honest. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I think so that's sort of the light and dark side of it, right? Like on the one hand, it ends up being a bit of an escape, but when things are really bad, but as well, it can really help simplify things to what really matters or what you really care about or what you really need to work on, right? Regardless of what it is. And for me, a lot of the times it's the artistic process, but also sometimes it's reflecting, right? And reflecting on your day and being like, taking stock of where you are in life and shit like that, real. Right? Yeah. But yeah.
I feel that, man. I mean, it definitely touches a lot of people now that you have access to CBD just like that. I mean, CBD is as common as THC, if not more common. And, on the recreational market, and we're speaking specifically about the legal Canadian market, industry, there's the recreational market, but there's the older medical market. And you mentioned the word catatonic. I mean, that is definitely a CBD dominant, more, I suppose, people love to say, like I would say, is a hybrid, let's just say. But yeah, definitely CBD, great for potentially calming anxiety. They used to say non-psychoactive. However, it is psychoactive. It's just non-intoxicating as is compared to THC. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people do enjoy CBD or a mix, a balance, or 2-to-1 or 1-to-2, things like that. CBD can kind of make you feel wavy in a way. All right, let's have fun with this one. So what is your stance on video games as an educational tool? So for example, why isn't there a place for video games in education? Additionally, could you share a memorable gaming moment or let us know some of your favorite games, perhaps genres, consoles, developers, perhaps you're an online gamer, let us know.
Video games. I'll be honest, I'm just getting back into video games. I just got a PS4 and I've started to play a few games off of that. And do they have a role in the educational system? That's a great question. I don't know if I am capable of speaking to that. I'm just really starting back into video games, more of like a leisure thing than anything else. What I will say, like, trying to play like Street Fighter 5, that the whole like hand-eye coordination argument that I feel comes up a lot is very legit. That shit is very legit.
That's real.
Because yeah, like a game like Street Fighter 5 is kind of impossible if you don't have, you know, any real sense of hand-eye coordination, which me right here, that's kind of me. It requires a lot of concentration. Not gonna lie, right? Like I think
designed to be pro.
That's very real.
Competitive.
Yeah,
but education.
I mean,
you know,
what I can say, for example, like my twin brother Mick, he's a teacher. He teaches.
Shout out to Mickey.
Primary school. He's a primary school teacher, and he has used games like Minecraft in the past for some of his students' projects.
Sure, you have to.
I think from what he has told me, just like I mean, this is sort of a secondhand experience, but when it's a game like Minecraft, for example, where the passion for that game is at such a high level, when you can incorporate it into your lesson plan, it's just going to make the students that much more engaged, right? Like
100%.
But yeah, it's I guess ultimately with as someone who doesn't have a lot of, you know, like knowledge in either of these two fields, I would just say that, you know, video games is another tool, right? Like I think it's a
great resource
tool that teachers have at their disposal, and just like any other tool, it can be used well or it cannot be used well.
Absolutely.
So
It could be misused,
it's entirely up to
for
the
sure.
teacher. You know, it's up to the teacher to use it well, right? I think that's ultimately what I'd say. But again, I don't know much about video games. I honestly don't know that much about the education system, so take my answer with a grain of salt.
That's no worries, man. But just touching on what you mentioned about your brother, absolutely, teachers have to incorporate this type of technology into the classes. Video games, in some ways, are better teachers than your average human teacher, in the sense that you pick up a controller, on-screen commands, buttons are there, you figure it out. You try, you fail, you succeed, you learn just by doing in a lot of ways. So video games, absolutely. I mean, just the idea of having, as you said, hand-eye coordination. I mean, touch inputs, reticles. It's an environment that we have to get a little more accustomed to, you know, going forward as technology advances. We're essentially living video games. I mean, touch screens on the phone. I mean, you know, 3D cameras, all like there's so many things that we've done, experienced, vibration. I mean, haptic feedback. There's so many interesting things that are already implemented in video games, and absolutely got to be added to the curriculum or curricula for sure. As it relates to your craft, discuss the resources that helped you get it going.
Yeah, with my craft, and so with emceeing, right? I think the resource that helped get it going, that helped me get to where I am today as an artist, is people. I think that's
the humans.
That's the biggest resources, is people that I've come across that have helped me hold my craft, develop my craft, have you know, exposed me to new ideas about the craft. I think it's people. Meeting and experiencing MCs that, you know, just by listening to them, you can tell that they have just like a different understanding about not just the craft, but just like almost like life in general, and that affects the way that you see things and how you see the craft. I like people that. Right? So
rub off on each other, you know?
From the idols, right? When I listen to Black Thought, for example, or when I hear him in an interview, like you get a sense of how he, like, as you know, like a god in the game, you know, he is like your grandmaster. He's a grandmaster of the craft, right? When you hear a grandmaster speak on it, it affects the way that you see the craft.
Sure, indeed.
So from that level,
he's a powerful
down
influence.
to like the interpersonal, right? Like, so various people along the way that I've met have helped me hone my craft, right? So from like, so for example, like there is, and you know, relationships change over the years, shit like that. But like, so for example, all the way back to, I remember when I heard there's this guy from Sudbury named Ronan. When he rapped, he would rap a lot.
Definitely heard of Ronan.
What's the word? He would use a lot of limericks in his rhyme scheme. In his rhyme scheme. And I was like, oh shit, limericks. Of course, I don't have to just do AABBCC. I can do AABBA or something like that. You know what I mean? And then so that opened that, just hearing him do that just opened up that door in my mind. And of course, there's a lot of like, and then hearing Fonte do it, for example,
those boys
on
over
records,
there, man. Yeah, and
or Freeway doing that on records, like that. Those things opened up doors in my mind in terms of rhyme scheme,
right? Like Freeway,
hearing like, or like there's this other MC that I know named Prolific. The way that he would flow, he would do these triplets at the beginning of his bars. That like he would start late and then do a triplet. And that would kind of like speed him up, get him back on time, but added momentum into his bars. So like hearing that, I'd be like, oh shit, like, so that affected the way I did my, like, or the way that I saw flow, right? So like small things like that. And as well, the cool thing is that,
stutter step,
is that I hope at least that the way that others have influenced me with the craft, I hope that I'm able to, that I've been able to do that with other people too. The way that I flow, the way that I rhyme, has influenced or changed the way that people or other crafts people have seen MCing.
Definitely has, man.
So that's what I say. Like the biggest resource, especially. The biggest resource for me when it has come to my craft of MCing has just been the people that I've met, the other MCs that I've listened to.
Ooh, okay.
And help develop my own sort of style, my own sort of take on the craft.
Right, like a perspective, Nice.
That's what I would say. And you know what? And outside of that, just like even with the equipment that I have, right? There's been people who have helped me get that equipment, right? Whether it be like Christmas gifts, or folks going half in on equipment.
Right on.
All that has really helped me accumulate a lot of the stuff that I have that allows me to write and produce music today. And lastly, just collaboration, right? Like for me, I'm at my best when I'm able to bounce ideas off of other people. And then it becomes like a nice positive feedback loop where my idea incites another idea, which then incites another idea from me, and back and forth until we end up with something that's hopefully awesome. Right?
Yes.
So yeah, those, if you put those three things together, I think, the biggest resource is just people.
Got you, man.
The relationships you build, the insights that you gain from others, all that sort of stuff.
That's pretty powerful, man. That's pretty big. Definitely the humans are the ones that keep this thing going. The humans are definitely the ones that keep this thing going, you know? I like the idea of collaborating for sure, reflecting off each other, bouncing ideas off, generating, as you said, that positive feedback loop. We need more of that, and that kind of goes in with the mental health thing, you know, positive reinforcement, positive feedback, a tribe, you know, build your tribe, move with the people, experience different things. And I absolutely love the idea of you going together, maybe half and half on some gear and stuff, because there's another way that, you know, I personally have been influenced by people as a resource, let's say, and that is sometimes getting other people's feedback or reviews on a product, that they have, or some software that they use, whichever way. And it's really cool to know that sometimes you can actually share, like physically share a product, or just share a little bit of feedback or insight as to how it works or whether it's the right tool for you. Definitely, I love that. Anything else on your mind that you want to share? There's got to be something else you want to say. There's got to be one more thing to share.
Well, first off, I mean, again, Blends, I really appreciate you having me on your podcast.
Thanks, man. No problem. You're welcome.
It means a lot. It means a lot that you're willing to, share this platform with me here. Really, really appreciate it. So I guess one thing I want to share is, I got, speaking of collaboration, I just finished up a project with this producer that I was able to link up with from New York. His name is Mimar he goes by Mimar Sanan.
Yes, man.
And we got a project coming out called Super Team.
It is crazy.
Together we're known as the Atlantic Conference Avengers. And I'm really excited about this project. I really feel like it may be the most complete thing that I've done in terms of just volume and quality. If you put the combination of those two things with this, I think for me I haven't done something this big.
Yeah.
That's also this good. if I can kind of pat myself on the back here.
It's amazing. It's great.
Give props to Bamar. It drops May 15th, 2020. I don't know when y'all are listening to this. It might be out there already, but
it's gonna be there. So yeah.
But yeah, check it out. Definitely check out. Again, it's called Super Team by the Atlantic Conference Avengers, or ACA for short. I'll just leave it at that. It's got a sort of traditional sort of hip hop sound, just boom bap. Mimar just has
it's a little deeper than that
sampling
too,
everything. And me just rapping my ass off, and it's really cool. We connected. Over some really sort of central fundamental concepts we were just having conversations and over the internet, of course, and there's just a few fundamental things that we really connected on that resonated with both of us, and that just allowed me to write so freely on this record. The rhymes just came so freely, so smoothly over his beats, and just because there was just those things that resonated with both of us. So
sounds powerful, man. Sounds like a powerful connection.
So quickly, right? And so you'll see it on the cover for sure, and you'll hear it in the music too. There's a lot of socio-political commentary,
some NBA talk too.
There's a lot of just like grandiose sort of
storytelling, these themes,
imagery in terms of building this
super team,
this picture team of the ACA.
Right.
It's really dope, man. And Mimar just did a fantastic job putting that shit together. And trust me, this will just be the first of many. The ACA, we're here to stay here.
Nice. I like that.
Just with this, and you'll hear it in the sound too. You'll hear it in the sound.
Put the flag down.
But yeah, that's it, man. Like, again, thanks so much for having me on, bro.
Don't even worry. You're welcome, man. I really like that album. I've had a chance to sit with it, and it's really nice. I mean, I've listened to it from front to back a few times now. It is so good. The production, the variety of styles there. Oh my gosh, there's a vocalist in there sometimes singing through the back, kind of like what's the name? Give me a second. Takitha Wright, I believe it is. She sang with the Wu-Tang guys and such. Like, boy, oh boy, just straight through the background. It's definitely a special album, and I mean, it really does have, I don't want to say this word kind of sounds corny in a sense, but it's kind of in a sense epic. It does have this big it's creating something. It's developing this world. There's a vibe to it. There's not so much a vibe. Yes, there's a vibe, but there's something bigger to it than just the 15 or 16 tracks. I mean, it's just something else, man. Congratulations on that, Mamar Sanan. This one is tough.
And yo, Blends, lastly, man, you stay safe out there. The pandemic is too real out here, man. It's too real out here. You stay safe out there. Stay blessed. And stay safe.
Sure.
Stay blessed.
For sure.
And have a good one.
You too, man. Take it easy. Take it easy. Thanks for your time, man. Thank you. Thanks for taking the time to check this episode out. As usual, feel free to send an email to bramwoodpodcast@gmail.com. We definitely appreciate your support and your feedback. Until next time.